purposes is that the document cannot be amended and cannot be deleted. Okay, so now we can do other things with this. Just to confirm, there's a palette full of functionality on the top right of the screen, which allows me to manage the document whilst it's in Docusoft. For example, we have an audit trail, so we can check on the status of the document, who last dealt with it, where it is, what the current status is, etc., etc. So every document has its own audit trail, and that means at any given time, any user can find out the status of the document and whether it's been dealt with or not. Okay, we can also refile documents. For example, this document is currently sitting in the general correspondence section, and it's in the wrong place. So we give you a refile button, and we can change the section. I'll just wait for catch up there, and then you get presented the filing structure, and you could refile it from general correspondence to daily ledger. I'm just picking sections at random here, but clearly you would have your own filing structures and choose the documents accordingly. And when you submit that, that document has now been refiled. Okay, so you can now see on the grid that the document is now sitting in the daily ledger section, having been moved from the general correspondence section, and that function would have been audited as well. So just moving down on the display here, we can email documents out. We can email single documents out. We can email multiple documents out. Just by highlighting on the grid 2 documents, we give you an email button. That's the bottom row left-hand button on the screen, and we present you with a confirmation. Are you prepared to email these documents? Yes, I am. Do you want to convert them to PDF? In this case, I'll say no. Do you want to rename them? We give you an option to rename documents as we're passing them through to the email system. And here we have an email being prepared, and you can see, I'll just wait for you to catch up on the Outlook screen. You can see the 2 documents have been attached immediately into a prepared email. Okay, we even can store email addresses against the client reference to speed up email creation. Okay, so it's a very fast tool which allows you to generate documents out of the system very, very quickly and very easily.
Same thing if you're creating an email, presumably that automatically saves into the system as well.
Absolutely. So whilst you asked the question, Ian, so here we have my email systems, my live Outlook. I can take an email. There's the GoToWebinar invitation for this morning's session. I can save a document manually using the Docusoft button at the top right, and if I wanted to file that manually, I get presented with an indexing screen. Where do you want to file this? We can pre-populate these values so that you wouldn't have to fill in the fields, and therefore you could automate or semi-automate or provide a manual version of filing. So the call is yours. Okay. If I was to reply to this email and say thanks, okay, and then send the email to Kathy, we then get a prompt. And again, we can automate this, but if you get the prompt, you have the option to file this straight into Docusoft immediately, or to just say, no, I don't need this email filed to Docusoft.
So firms can choose whether they have the prompt or it just automatically goes into the filing system?
Absolutely. Yep. So you can switch that on, switch that off, and we could allow that file to...
What do most firms do? Do they just tend to have the automatic?
No. Most firms actually prefer to choose the prompt. Okay, because the prompt is actually a driver to file it or to wait for a reply and use the reply email to be filed later on.
Okay.
So in essence, the automation sounds attractive, but in reality,
click the button.
most people would prefer to see the prompt.
Yeah.
The advantage of the prompt is that it's a prompt. Okay, so you know what's going on. You're in control. With the automation, it's going somewhere. You can't guarantee it's going to the right place. Okay, so the prompt is very handy, and if you say yes, you get the indexing screen. Okay, so that's emails. We can automate it. We can provide it in a manual sense. Okay, so the viewer is this fast tool. As you can see, this has been converted to a graphical form as opposed to raw text. I can email out. I can add post-it notes. So you notice in the grid that the document below this one has a post-it note. As you can see, it says C notes, which is an instruction to a user to go and look at the document information on the screen. If you want to add a post-it note to a document, you click on a document that hasn't got a post-it note, we give you a notes button, and you can just type in a note.
Whilst you're doing that, Robin, if I can just interrupt a minute, we find that very useful to copy and paste into there the HMRC receipt for online filing of tax returns. So when we file a tax return online, we get a message, this has been accepted, and this is the reference. We'll just copy and paste that into that field, alongside the scanned image of the signed page of the return.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, and then the advantage of the note, as if I just refresh this, is that nobody can miss it, because it will always come up. Irrespective of who you are, you can't avoid the note. It's there. If you want to remove it from the screen, you just remove it from the screen, but the icon is still telling you that there's a note, and you can always bring it back. Okay, so nothing is lost, but it is a post-it note in all but name. We call it a sticky note because we can't use the terminology. And the advantage of a sticky note is that you can lose it and it's not audited. Okay, so we have emails with attachments. I know that because in the grid there's an attachment icon, there's an attachment button above the viewer, and you can see the attachment separately. Okay, so you don't have to view the document, you can see the attachments held separately. Okay, if you just double click on the attachment, you can see and open the attachment. Okay, by the way, a key function I've missed out here is that if I have a Word document, and I'll just make sure that everyone's displaying that in the viewer is a read-only viewer. If you want to see the Word document in its original format, we give you a launch button. And if you launch it, it puts the document straight back into Word, which means you are now in a revisable document, but you're not overwriting the original. So from here, I could change my actual date of birth to something a little bit more complementary, and then I could file the document straight back into Docusoft, and it's a new document, and therefore it's a new index to be provided.
Again, you can pre-populate that if you want for firms.
Yes, yep, we could, absolutely. The other advantage is that we can also support versioning of existing documents. So I just wanted to point out here, again, we'll just wait for the catch-up, is above the grid, we have a concept of a version. If I click on the version, this document has a history. This is the original document, and this is the latest document. And it's gone through a variety of iterations to get to the final copy. Okay, so Docusoft fully supports version control with a concept of locking using the check-in, check-out method. Okay, so any document can have a history, or you can use a Word document as a template for a new document. Okay, so we have PDFs, we have refiling options. So having said before that no document can be amended or deleted, if you don't want this document in this client file, we have a refile option, and you can move it to a bin file. Or you could change it to a different client if it's in the wrong client. So nothing is lost, everything is secured against deletion. What we're very confident about when we implement a Docusoft solution is that you can't damage the database because you can't delete a document, which is fundamental to our ICAEW compliance. Okay, so from here we have another concept of marrying documents in Docusoft with documents that you might have as work in progress. Okay, and this is what we call the network tab. Okay, so aligned with documents in the items tab, we have a network tab which gives you access to documents that are actually not in Docusoft, but we can still present them to you in our viewer. So alongside documents that have been filed, we may have a work in progress document as an example. So it comes up in the viewer, all the tabs are supported in an Excel concept, but if you want to see the original document in its original format, you launch it and it takes you straight to the document from your networked folder. Okay, so this is not a Docusoft document, and if you were to edit this, and if I was to put Kevin's name in there and file it, I'm saving it straight back onto the network folder. I am not doing anything within the Docusoft system. Okay, and that means that alongside Other documents in our viewer, we have the latest one in here should read Kevin in the viewer. As we can see, there's the document I just.
So when you've finished with them and you're happy with them and you've been doing maybe some spreadsheets, then you press the button to save into Docusoft.
Yes, we give you the fast button on the grid on the left-hand side. You can just save it back to Docusoft, or you can go to your Windows browser and save it to Docusoft from there.
I know you're in a demo mode, Robin, but I have to interrupt. If I was doing a set of accounts on Iris or something like that, how do I get my set of accounts into Docusoft? Is it the same sort of just a button?
Yeah, just a button. If I were to take you to an Excel spreadsheet, you can either, this has been generated by Iris, Digital Practice Engine, Sage, whatever. You either go to the home page and use the Docusoft integration button here, and on the top right of this screen.
What about accounts produced in one of those systems, Digital?
Yeah, well, if it's produced in a PDF form, we give you another option here, which is to print to a Docusoft PDF printer, and that will just give you the indexing screen to file it straight into Docusoft.
So you can file everything, really.
You file everything in whatever format. Okay.
Again, purely from a practical point of view, if we've got Excel working papers or Word documents or accounts, draft accounts, whatever, they're all in a working folder, in the network folder that Robin showed just now.
Yeah.
What we then tend to do is just zip them all up.
And then bung them in at one go.
Bung them in one go. So
yeah.
Inside the document.
That makes sense, doesn't it? When you've sort of done the final accounts and client sign them, you can just post the whole lot in.
One file, 2011 or 2012 working papers.
Yeah.
One click on it, and you put everything within that file in one place.
Right. So that's how you work. Is keep it on the network file until you're ready to bung it all onto the the system. Okay. Good.
That works really, really well.
Yeah, and I've tried to mirror that in the demonstration here by showing you an example of a zip file. And there's the four documents that constitute the zip, and you can literally just open up any one of those at any time and use it as a template for next year's working papers.
By your experience, Robin, you do a lot of demos with firms and you put a lot of systems into firms here. How long does it take to sort of make the transition from paper files to electronic system? How long does it take to get everybody trained up? How long does it take to make sure everybody's working in the same way?
Well, we'd like to think we can do it in a morning, but that may not be realistic. The implementation and training can literally take a morning. However, the transition is not a software issue. The transition is a procedures issue.
What do firms do if they've got all these files? Do they scan it all in, or do they just send it away to be scanned and then?
Well, there's lots of options, but we probably wouldn't recommend the back file conversion because it just makes the cost.
So you leave the paper as it is for now, and then start with new documents onto this.
Yes, I mean, Kevin, you might.
Which is exactly as we did 7 years ago on the 1st of April. Everything from that day forward went into Docusoft. All the old paper files were left to sort of wither on the vine and just weren't used. So there's a little bit of overlap because you're looking at something that's dated March or whatever you're dealing with. But after 2 or 3 months, it's all pretty well currently then inside the software.
Yeah, because once you've looked at the paper file, you might say, well, I need that one, and scan it in or not, so just leave it, use it to work on next year. And of course, after 12 months, presumably, you're fully electronic then, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's no need to look back 2 years because you've got last year's working papers.
Yeah. So our recommendation is always take on back to the last financial. Anything before really is difficult to justify as a back.
You just keep it for 6 years and lob it in storage or throw it away after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We do know people that have done it. I do know somebody that's scanned 3 million documents, got rid of 9 tons of paper.
But it's a preference of the user, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, a firm listening here might say, well, I want everything on there. And if you're a small sole practitioner, you probably could legitimately bung everything on, because it wouldn't be such a long process.
And it depends on space and all sorts of things, whether you're paying for external storage, all sorts of factors that determine.
Well, we'll come along to storage and price and cost in a minute. Sorry, Robin, I just wanted to interrupt because I like to ask a few questions.
I mean,
just making sure my presence is valued.
just on the point, if any documents are electronic already, we can bring them all in en masse.
Emails, for example.
Yeah, emails en masse. Documents on networked folders en masse. So it's only the paper that has to be considered for backfile.
Right.
Everything electronic can be brought in.
And what about the stuff that you've got on Digital or Iris, all the accounts and tax returns on there? Can that